everyone. Welcome to Politics Unleashed. I'm Michelle.
I'm Chris Pavlik.
And we're going to be breaking down politics and current events and providing our honest opinions on the issues that affect us as Edmontonians, Albertans, Canadians, and citizens of the world. So please remember to subscribe, like, and share the podcast.
Yeah, so the first thing we should talk about this week is the fact that the Liberals got rejected by a couple of MPs they were trying to convince to cross the floor, Michelle.
Yeah, so earlier in a previous podcast, we were talking about that snake, Michael Ma and D'Entremont.
Yeah.
And I knew that they didn't come to this idea by themselves. They had to have been influenced by the Liberal Party. And sure enough, we had a whistleblower, an MP, a Conservative MP. What was his name again? Scott Richardson?
No, it was Scott Anderson.
Scott Anderson, there we go. And so he came out and he was quite vocal about it. And he said that he didn't want to be involved with the Liberals and that he rejected their offer. But it was good that he actually brought it to light, because I knew in my heart that they had something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, Anderson was pretty vehement about his rejection of the offer, saying it would be a cold day in hell before he ever considered crossing the floor. A bit of an odd choice for them to try and approach anyway, as Anderson seems like a pretty through and through conservative guy. Perhaps less unsurprising was they were going after the MP up north. I believe she's in Nunavut, Lori Idolut, who's the NDP member for Nunavut.
See, that one would have made more sense to me, that you would try and get an NDP to cross the floor, since, I mean, I would consider the Liberals and the NDP to be two sides of the same coin. They're all the way to the left, so they have very similar ideologies. But to recruit a Conservative has always been a bizarre notion to me, and it's quite surprising that we've seen Conservative floor crossers, because our values, our platform, our beliefs are so different. It's black and white.
Yeah, I mean, it would have made more sense under Trudeau, right? Because he was certainly trying to get the Liberals in the same direction as the NDP, which is basically why Jagmeet Singh was slowly kind of choking out as a political force, because, why vote for Jagmeet when Justin was going to do more or less the same things?
Right.
So the difficulty, I suppose, is now the Liberals are trying to have it both ways. They're both the same old Liberals who were quite enamored with all the spending and everything like that, while promising, but we brought in a banker now. Everything's different. It's a new government. It's not all the same people. It's just a different leader. And we're totally different now. We're going to do things differently and actually try and grow the economy. At least that's what they claim. But, it doesn't really seem like it's anything more than a new coat of paint on the same Liberal house, so to speak. Yeah,
exactly. They just say it changed the face, but the party is largely the same. And here we have a guest here. Do you want to grab him? You guys are going to see our cats here. This is a cat.
Zeus, welcome to the podcast. He says, "Hey guys, my name's Zeus. I got lots of opinions. I'm a little cat."
Zeus, are you a Conservative or a Liberal?
Zeus says, "No, man, I'm neither. I don't vote."
Oh, you don't vote? You're irresponsible like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but
unless I get paid, then I vote. I'm like a Somali.
Oh my God. But you know what? It is actually surprising to me that people still continue to vote for Liberals, because these are the bleeding heart leftists that hate the elites. And then they voted for the biggest elitist of all. I'm like, guys, pick a lane, anyone. Just stay consistent. That's all I'm asking.
Well, the Liberals don't really have any consistency except for being really enamored with power.
And frauding Canadians of money.
Well, I mean, the Liberals are always looking for ways to put some money in the pockets of their supporters, and specifically the elected members, because we still don't have any idea what the extent of that whole green
slush fund
is, where all the people who are appointed to the committee, which is supposed to disperse the funds, wound up dispersing funds to the companies they were involved in. which is just
Yeah.
this tremendous conflict of interest. Like, you can't be the person giving the money and the person receiving the money without there being some huge conflict against the public interest. It's just not something that can or should happen.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because that we're kind of seeing that happen right now with Ukraine. Christina Freeland.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, the good news is that with these floor crossers rejecting Mark Carney and also Chrystia Freeland agreeing that she's going to be stepping down, I believe as of yesterday.
It's very recent.
You know, because firstly, she was going to hang around for a few more weeks, but she took this job as an economic advisor to Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. And correspondingly, I mean, it was a little bit awkward that she's supposed to be advising a foreign country and still being a sitting member of parliament. Those two things don't really work well together.
No, it's giving corruption, if I'm being honest.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where you can't properly serve two masters in that respect. You can't both be a representative of a foreign country and a sitting representative of Canada at the same time. You can be one or the other. There's nothing wrong with her going and advising the president of Ukraine.
I think that there's
well, you do, but I don't. You know, I think maybe she's not who I would pick as an economic advisor, because I think as a finance minister, she wasn't very good.
No, she was garbage at her job.
On the other hand, if you wanted someone who's going to go shake hands with all the European leaders who are a bunch of lefties and shake them down for money, maybe she is a good choice. I don't know. You know, maybe Zelensky knows what he's doing in that respect. He's got someone to go around to the Labour government in England and go shake hands with Macron and his strange wife and, you know, all the other European leaders and pass the hat around. I mean, maybe Friedland's a good choice for that. I mean, if you actually want to build a working economy, not my choice, but, you know, if it's just as bag person, I mean, you probably do worse.
Well, that's another topic on its own. But this past week, there was a huge event that happened in Minnesota, and it had nothing to do with the Somalis this time. It was actually a white leftist, a woman, 37 years old, I believe, Renee, what's her full name? Renee Good. I know that, but she had a couple of middle names in there. And do you want to talk about that?
Well, you know, it was another of these things that happened that seemed profoundly stupid. I mean, because when you watch the extended video, this lady basically is apparently following these immigration enforcement officers who go, they call them ICE. And she's following them around all day. And then at some point she parks in the middle of a street, essentially obstructing traffic.
Yeah, she's blocking it completely, pretty much. Yeah. She backs up occasionally to let some other cars go, and then she moves forward right in the middle. So she's clearly obstructing. But it's funny because the media says she just dropped off her child at school and she would just encountered ICE. That's not the truth at all. She was pretty much stalking them, and she's a part of an organization that they train them on how to deal with ICE and how to aggravate them. So,
well, I mean, who drops off a kid at school by parking in the middle of a residential street that's nowhere near a school? That doesn't make sense in and of itself.
But what's a mother doing there to begin with? You're a mother. It is your duty to be a good role model for your child. Sure, you can peacefully protest, but there's nothing peaceful about what those other protesters were doing. They were throwing snowballs at the ICE officers. They were berating them, swearing at them. I mean, they're making their lives like a living hell, and they're just trying to uphold their duty to remove illegal aliens from the U.S.
Well, the news would like you to believe that all of these things are organic, right? But here's the thing. You don't have these people show up with printed signs that are all nicely attached to the stakes and everything like that. They don't all have their talking points without there's someone putting some money behind it. And ultimately what you have is you have like these Chinese-aligned billionaires who are funding money through various communist organizations to promote this kind of discord within the United States.
You know, actually all around, even in European countries, Antifa is huge everywhere almost.
Yeah, no, it's all being funded by left-wing billionaires who think it's a good idea for whatever reason. I mean, in this instance, this lady was some kind of communist revolutionary, from what I could read about
Mm-hmm.
her affiliations. And, she was obviously trying directly to agitate against these law enforcement officers.
Right.
And when you actually look at the video, I mean, they pull her over, they tell her to get out of the car. She refuses to get out of the car.
Multiple times, by the
Multiple
way. Multiple times.
They yell at her, get out of the car, get out of the car. And then one guy's circling around the car. And the video from his phone shows he's standing directly in front of her when this lady backs up and then drives forward directly towards him, hits him, and then he shoots her.
Right.
I mean, this is a very unfortunate incident. Don't get me wrong. You never want to see that happen to anyone. But, I mean, this is profoundly stupid.
Right. This is F around and find out, pretty much.
It's like running at a cop waving a knife.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
This is the thing. I will say this. You can see her attempting to steer, and her wife says, drive, baby, drive. Here's the thing, though. When you're a cop, mind you, this guy got dragged for around 300 feet
That was another instance, apparently.
in June or July. So he's already traumatized from that. But mind you, all officers are trained to shoot when a car is coming at them. They're trained to do that, okay?
Yeah.
So even if you're attempting to turn, the fact that you clip them, and mind you, there's ice on the ground, it's super slippery, and you could see he lost footing because he has no grip on the ground. Yeah, they're going to view that as an assault with a weapon because that's what it's classified under law. Like, you can get charged with vehicular homicide or manslaughter. Like,
well, I mean, the reality is she probably would have hurt him a lot more, but for the fact that her tires were spinning out on the ice. 'Cause she was clearly trying to accelerate. It's just her tires are spinning out because she's on the ice. And it's kind of fortunate that this guy wasn't more badly injured than it appears he was. I know there was a stuntman I was seeing on Twitter who was saying to all the people who are claiming you can't be injured from a slow-moving vehicle of that size. He pointed out that he'd broken his hip, he'd broken vertebrae, he'd broken ribs, he'd broken his arms, broken his legs, because in the course of being a stuntman, he'd be hit by a slow-moving vehicle on many occasions. And, it's a simple matter of physics. That Honda Pilot's actually a very large van. I mean, that thing's going to weigh like 4,000 pounds. So even 3,000 or 4,000 pound object moving at a slow speed is going to hit you with a surprising amount of force.
But let's remove physics out of this because even if you just tap him, which she swiped him, he could have lost, because you see him slipping a bit, he could have actually lost full control and cracked his head on the cement, and he could have died that way too. I mean, you just don't move your vehicle like that when there's a cop in front of you. And so many people are like, oh, well, he wasn't really in front. Then how did he get a shot right through the windshield? It doesn't even make any sense.
Well, I mean, most of the discourse about this from left-wing people has simply been that, oh, he didn't need to shoot her, she didn't hit him. I mean, it's basically a lot of dodging around the facts. I mean, the facts are this lady drove into a law enforcement officer and then he shot her.
Yeah.
And, it's unfortunate. You just shouldn't do that. I mean, people, in some cases, do things to provoke these conflicts with law enforcement officers, and it's profoundly unwise. I mean, when the law enforcement officer tells you to get out of the car, get out of the car.
Get out of the car, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I remember we got pulled over. I think I was going just under, I think it was around 10 kilometers over the speed limit, near White Ave. And they pulled me over. I gave them my ID. I was very cordial with them. They didn't even give me a ticket. They gave me a warning. Police officers don't wake up and think, oh, I just want to ruin people's lives. No, they have a very, very, very honorable job to protect us every single day. And they know the risk that comes with that they might not go home to their families. So yeah, he's going to pull a gun because it's either him or her.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, once you put someone's life in jeopardy, I mean, it is a you or them type scenario. And,
Right.
it's only reasonable for these law enforcement officers to choose, themselves over whoever the perpetrator they're interacting with is.
And also, they're protecting other people on the road too.
yeah.
Because if this person is just driving around like a crazy person, they might hit other people, they might hit another vehicle or a house. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously sad this lady passed away, but on the other hand, I mean, she's kind of the author of her own misfortune on this one.
unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
And her older wife, didn't really help either.
No,
telling her, drive, baby, drive.
No.
How about, honey, get out of the car. Let's sort this out. Because guess what? All of those illegal migrants, they don't give a shit about you. You think that they would actually protect you in this kind of fashion if it was you on the chopping block? No.
Well, I mean, who else is going to protect all these fraudulent Somali daycares if not liberal middle-aged white ladies?
Which is crazy because they take feminism so far, and yet they support people who are completely against feminist beliefs. Zeus really wants to be a part of the podcast.
Yeah.
Zeus, what do you think about all this? He says, don't drive your vehicle on people, man. You won't have any problems.
So I don't drive. I don't have these problems.
He would drive like a crazy person. He would for sure try and run over an ICE officer. This guy, absolutely.
Zeus.
Yeah, he's a menace to society. I don't trust him.
Don't be a bad cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now they have like massive demonstrations in Minneapolis, and the mayor and the governor are all saying that ICE need to get out of the city and the state. I mean, which are just completely like nonsensical requests, because it's like, well, what, you think the federal government's just going to say, well, no, we're not enforcing our laws anymore?
Right.
I mean, I saw that Kristi Noem had already said they were sending hundreds more ICE officers in response to the reaction they've gotten.
They have to, because those ICE officers are in danger. They're in grave danger.
No, I mean, they're not going to back down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems unfortunate that they're pushing towards some sort of larger conflict. I mean, Walz was even threatening to get the National Guard called up to deal with ICE. And
like, why would you pin
ridiculous.
officers against each other like that? That's such a stupid move.
Well, I mean, it seems like the Democrats in the U.S. are very, very determined to gin up some kind of conflict, because they don't really have anything else going on.
They're going to cause a civil war.
Well, they're hoping this will be George Floyd Part 2, where they can...
It's turning into that, because people are turning her into some sort of martyr, which is crazy work to me. That these people think someone like Renee Good or George Floyd should somehow be honored because they were honorable human beings, when that couldn't be farther from the truth. And they were the same ones who villainized us for caring about Charlie Kirk being murdered in public. I mean, it just, these people are awful, just awful human beings. I don't know how you can compare those kinds of people to each other.
I don't know. I mean, I think this Renee Good person is kind of emblematic of kind of the middle-aged liberal white woman, who, is kind of mentally unstable and has made some really questionable life decisions, because they actually have done studies that find that, like, liberal white women are the least happy of all women of any political persuasion.
Surprise!
I mean, they basically say they're the least likely to be married. Although this woman liked being married so much, I think she was on marriage number 3.
She was on marriage number 3, and it's funny that they keep portraying her as a lesbian. I'm like, her 2 previous relationships were with men, so
well, I guess
that's how she had those kids. I'll give her bi, but that's about it.
But in any event, I mean, but the statistics are somewhat startling. I mean, it says like half of liberal white women have been diagnosed with some kind of psychological disorder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge, huge number.
I know it is.
And they're the least likely to be happy of any women of any political persuasion, whether it's conservative or moderate. if you're on the left wing side of the spectrum, and I know Jonathan Haidt and some of his collaborators basically say it deals with catastrophization.
Exactly. That's the problem. The media is telling them and their politicians to focus on these issues, become activists. And when you take on the burdens of the world, yeah, you're going to feel depressed. Instead, how about you focus it towards yourself, your family, your friends, and your community, and then branch outwards if you can maintain that kind of mental stability. But if you're focusing on all these outside issues and you're not really resolving what's here, then yeah, that's the perfect storm for mental instability.
It's also that on the left, they act like no one has any control over anything.
That's true.
It's all,
they don't have any autonomy.
Believe we all have choices to make, and
personal
we can all
choice, right?
make a difference in our own lives. And we can go about how we're going to change things. You hit some kind of, skid, and you still have choices you can make to try and repair your life and get yourself back on the right track.
Yeah, we don't have a victim mindset.
Yeah, I mean, the victim mindset is really probably what's causing most of their unhappiness, because they're all a victim of the system. They're all a victim of the climate.
The patriarchy.
A victim of the patriarchy, or God knows what other systems.
Capitalism.
Yeah. I mean,
my algorithm is just messed up. I'm just like, I know all of their talking points, and they're all crazy.
I mean, the reality it is, you're just a normal lady.
Yeah.
And, your life is going to be as good or as bad as you choose to make it.
And a very privileged lady at that. You live in a Western nation that's democratic.
Yeah.
You're highly privileged. You don't know what it's like to be oppressed.
Yeah. Oppression
happens way outside of this country. I mean, and it's funny because they support those countries too. And I'm like, girl, pick a lane.
And I read this lady was so oppressed that her mom was basically paying her bills.
Wow. The oppression to not have to work hard every day.
There was a reporter who found her Cash App and found that her mom was just giving her all kinds of money to pay for her expenses, because she was essentially an activist. And this was what she was kind of doing with her life full time. Another person said she even had her kids in some kind of crazy hippy dippy.
So that's the one child that she lives with her partner. And it's a charter school that's aimed towards activism.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Like, why are we pushing these ideologies on malleable brains? These young kids, they're a blank slate, and we're just putting this fucking shit and trauma into their brains. That's evil. They should be allowed to be kids, learn how to read and write and do math and learn about science, not this shit.
Well, it's pretty much the last thing you actually want school to be for kids.
Yeah.
Like, you want kids to be taught how to read, how to do math,
right?
Basic science, get some basic history. You want them to be able to develop the ability to have all the mastery of all these basic skills,
right?
So they can read and form their own opinions,
so they can be productive citizens in the future
and be able to have a job.
Right.
Instead, you're gonna teach them about activism. What a waste of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather you send a kid to a hockey academy over an activism school.
Yeah, I guess.
Because, at least you learn some teamwork and you get some exercise playing hockey.
Well, I mean, they do focus on academics as well, so it's not
they still
completely
teach them school. I'm just saying,
it's better than just focusing it on all of this leftist bullshit.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But she has 2 other kids, and they are in a different state with one of her former husbands, because I believe one of them passed away. I think the one that passed away is the father of the child that she does have custody of, which is quite unfortunate. So now that kid is essentially an orphan, except for his crazy deranged stepmom that told his mom, drive baby, drive. Like, the resentment, that kid's gonna end up a school shooter. Right. Like, that's the perfect scenario for one. Like, that's your villain origin story. Like, I mean, yeah.
Either that, or this kid's gonna grow up and be like, God, my mom was an idiot.
You know what? That might happen. They're
Well,
going to be like the most hardcore conservative
It's possible.
ever. Yeah.
yeah, this is this kid's rebellion. He's going to
Yeah.
grow up. He's going to be very religious. He's going to vote.
He's going to be the next
Republican.
Charlie Kirk. Wouldn't that be
Yeah,
the
who knows?
biggest fucking karma?
That would be pretty crazy. But
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy.
but how crazy is it? This woman like basically staged a police scenario while her partner is sitting there on the curb filming it. Like, why would that even happen? Like, if you were just doing anything normal,
Right.
why would the other person be out of the car filming? It doesn't make any sense. It's
Exactly.
so clearly staged.
It is staged.
They were trying to have some kind of interaction with the police.
Right. And the media said, no, they just encountered ICE. And I love the picture that they're showing of her when she's pregnant, back when she used to be straight and she looked relatively normal and
Yeah.
not with this
Some picture
shaved
from, like,
hairdo.
15, 20 years ago?
No, less than that.
Wow,
but like,
decade ago anyways.
yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a lifetime away since she completely changed her identity and did like a complete 180. But I mean, she has 2 other kids. They're living in a different state. But I keep seeing these rumors. So I'm going to keep calling them rumors because I haven't actually substantiated any of that. That she lost custody of those 2 kids due to domestic violence charges. So I'm sure more information will unfold regarding that because the internet sleuths on the conservative side, you can't mess with them. They're on some next level shit. So we're going to find out what's going on with this Renee Good lady. But we're just going to have to see what happens in Minnesota because it's not looking good with all the protests.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's probably going to get out of hand again based on what happened last time. On the other hand, I mean, the demographic of white liberals perhaps isn't as likely to engage in violent riots as what happened.
I've seen that talking point. Yeah, we're not going to probably see riots and stuff like that, but you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
I mean, it could be the case that we'll get some riots, but on the other hand, I mean, it might not be quite as fiery and destructive as when George Floyd.
That was a mess. I felt so bad for people that, especially they had businesses and they were getting looted and their businesses were being burned down.
Well, you know, it really showed people burning down your own part of town.
Right. But we never did that when Charlie Kirk died.
Well, who would? That doesn't make any sense.
And mind you, his death was 1,000 times more graphic than George Floyd and Renee Good's murder combined. We saw everything.
Well, I mean, and when you come right down to it, Charlie Kirk was assassinated for his political beliefs. These other 2 people basically died for being really stupid.
Very stupid, actually, yes.
I mean, what's
they
kind
weren't
of
doing
lost
anything
in George
honorable.
Floyd is that the guy consumed drugs.
Yeah.
And was trying to use basically counterfeit $20 bill or something like that. And that's how he got in contact with the cops. And then when the cops came, he consumed some drugs.
Lots of fentanyl.
He was afraid of being arrested for possession.
Right. He swallowed all these baggies of fentanyl.
Yeah. So the guy basically gets arrested, and whether or not the police officer actually caused him to die or not, I don't know. He was convicted.
He would have died.
But on the other hand,
once the plastic baggies dissolved in his stomach with the stomach acid, as soon as just even, oh God, one of those baggies would have killed him immediately, man.
Yeah. I mean, the chances are, even if the police had just kind of lightly held him by the shoulder, this guy could have keeled over.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, you know, it's not a good look putting your knee on the guy's neck.
No, it's not. But
however,
when you don't comply, though.
But it's this lady. But like this lady, I mean, don't get into these situations with the police.
Right. Comply.
Yeah. I mean, she could have avoided this whole thing quite easily.
Completely.
And instead, now she's dead. Her kid's orphaned, and it's just a sad scenario.
It is a sad scenario. Yeah, her kids deserve better than that.
They do, certainly.
And she deserved a better partner, because I'm pretty sure that partner is the one who got her into this activism.
Well, she was on the news saying that she was the one who convinced her to go to this whole protest.
There you go.
You know, and certainly you can hear in the video that's been released that this other lady's egging her on. So it's something where, I don't think it was a really good dynamic between the two of them. Certainly, it seemed like they were encouraging each other to be more confrontational than probably
She seemed
should
to
have
be
been the
most.
case.
She was agitating the most. The older
Well,
lady,
I
her
mean,
wife, that was outside of the vehicle.
I mean, it's likely they're both involved in these
They are.
activist groups. So, I mean, you have two activists kind of egging each other on. It's going to get a little bit obnoxious.
I hope that the feds come in and charge her wife, because she was obstructing, and she has blood on her hands, her own wife's blood on her hands.
Yeah, it's a bad situation. I mean, who knows? I mean, the states are in a very, very divisive time period because, the blue states seem to be determined to be ever bluer and to, try and obstruct and prevent them from engaging in kind of immigration enforcement. Because, you had Homeland Security saying these people are trying to prevent us from grabbing in Minneapolis, and they put together a long list of people convicted of murder and sexual assault and offenses against children and that sort of stuff. And those are the people they said we're looking for.
Yeah.
And ideally, those are the people you should want to get gone.
Right. How are you for women's rights and protecting children, and then also you're protecting these fucking losers? They're parasites.
Well, I mean, the problem is the left thinks every illegal immigrant is Jean Valjean.
I know.
It's just some poor soul who the authorities are after
completely
because
innocent.
they wanted to steal a crust of bread or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's not the reality. I mean, there genuinely are people who are in either the U.S. or Canada who should be removed because they're a public danger.
Yeah.
So the idea that we can kind of just dismiss any kind of immigration enforcement is foolish. And, and that's beside the obvious problems they have with fraud in Minnesota in particular.
Right.
With which we discussed in our last podcast episode about the kind of widespread, pervasive Somali fraud. And that's beside all the things we see in Canada, where it's causing problems, where there's competition for jobs, for houses, for healthcare, and all the government services. So, immigration enforcement is something that needs to take place. It's not just kind of this weird idea that conservatives have about enforcing the law. I mean, there's really solid policy reasons it needs to take place. Protect the public. I mean, keep control of your own borders. It shouldn't be controversial.
No, it shouldn't be controversial at all. And also, those lefties need to understand that if they want to maintain those social services for underprivileged people and vulnerable populations, they need to make sure that those people can actually get those things. But if you're allowing illegal migrants and all of this fraud to occur, those people are going to be disserviced. They're not going to have access to those programs. I mean, look how many autism centers they were opening up. You could have actually helped real autistic kids that were actual citizens of the USA. I mean, it's just insane to me how they can just support two contrastingly different objectives at the same time.
Well, the problem with the left is always that it's kind of this suicidal empathy.
But it's hypocritical. Its foundation is just hypocritical.
No, it's just feeling. And, all of their decisions are based on feeling. And it's the same thing in Canada. I mean, look at how Trudeau governed for basically 9 years. Yeah. Was there any kind of logic to how he was conducting himself?
Zero fucking logic.
That's their whole mindset is based on empathy and sympathy and feelings. And, that's how he could say something like, we're going to grow the economy from the heart out. And a portion of the populace didn't say, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And this guy should not be put in charge of a 7-Eleven rather than the entire country.
Yeah.
But that's why we have things like the government wastes hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, in a green slush fund because we feel strongly about the environment. Do we care that all this money is basically being kind of used in kind of a very corrupt, self-serving way by all the people who are supposed to disperse it? Well, not really, because we felt good about saying we were doing something about the environment, and feeling good about saying we were doing something about the environment was the whole purpose of the policy, not actually accomplishing any objectives
Right.
as a result of the policy.
Right.
It's just like when we were supposed to all electrify everything.
Mm-hmm.
What did the Liberals say we were going to do? I mean, did they say what we're going to do is we're going to expand the electrical power grid in this country. We're going to build hydroelectric dams. We're going to build nuclear power plants.
No.
We're going to expand transmission lines. And once we've expanded transmission lines, we're going to upgrade the residential transformers.
No, all they said was net zero.
And yeah. But this is if you really, really believed in what this whole green agenda was, what you actually would have done.
Mm-hmm.
You would have built electric or nuclear power plants.
Right.
You would have upgraded the transmission lines, and you would have upgraded the residential transformers. You would have set about creating a network of fast charging stations so that once you had done all these things, then you could mandate that suddenly all the new cars had to be electric. Okay? But that would have cost a lot of money,
and
it would have taken a lot of time. I mean, it's feasible.
In our temperature?
It's not a good idea, but you could do all these things. And, it would take like 10 years to do it properly because you would have to build like dozens.
Yeah, they had the time. They
had
failed.
the time. They just didn't care enough to actually do it.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to do that, what you would have to do is you would have to look at the fact that all of the gas-powered engines would have to be replaced by more electrical production.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have all this spare electrical production capacity to replace every single gas-powered car on the road. So you'd have to start building up all of these and to replace all like the gas power plants and everything like that too.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to go all electric, you'd have to spend like a decade building all these new power plants.
Right.
Then you would have to upgrade transmission lines. You'd have to upgrade the residential transformers, create the charging network, and then you would have people start replacing their vehicles with these electric vehicles. But what you see is, well, that's how you would logically go about this. But that would be very expensive and very time-consuming.
And they've already wasted way too much money.
Well, and you don't get the immediate feel-good, rush of dopamine by saying, and now all cars will be electric, biggity bam, job done. And the reason that won't work is because all of the things you should have done to get up to that point, you didn't feel like doing because that sounded like a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And we're not really doing this based on logic. We're doing it based on feels.
Right.
So that's how all these left-wing governments get in such trouble.
Yep.
Like the same thing with all the paperwork for these Somali people. They thought it felt good to say we're spending money on daycare. So we're going to spend a bunch of money on daycare or feeding children. I mean, it sounds good to say I spent this amount of money on daycare or feeding children. Who cares if anyone actually fed any kids or provided any daycare?
Yeah.
I got to say, here's my piece of paper saying we gave money. Feel good about it.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate because I feel like I'm more of a real lefty than these people because they don't actually care about where their money is going. Well, I do. I would like those vulnerable people and those underprivileged communities to actually have access to those services, but they can't get access if other people keep frauding the government and taxpayers of money. It's just not going to happen.
Well, and the reality is that what the left always says is, oh, conservatives, you don't care about people. But what they never really recognize is every government action is basically part of a large series of trade-offs. Like right now, Canada's government is in a massive deficit position. We're spending hundreds of $1 billion every year that we don't have.
We're going to go bankrupt soon.
Well, the inevitable consequence of continuing to do so is at some point, the government's going to run out of money. And that happens. I mean, some of us, me particularly, and you probably not quite as much because you're a few years younger than me, but the early 90s, we ran out of money. The federal government just said, well, either we
The
have
early 90s?
yeah, like
Yeah.
the early 90s.
Yeah, I
John
was still
Crichton,
like
Paul Martin.
peeing in my
You're a little
diaper.
kid. I was like
I was like learning how to talk.
1990. I was like 7.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I wasn't much
Yeah.
older than you, but I remember the early 90s.
Mhm.
What happened was the federal government had to take an axe, basically, to the budget because they were spending and spending and spending since the 70s, and they hadn't had balanced budgets since maybe the 60s. So you just had all this deficit spending from the first run of Trudeau, and then Mulroney started trying to reel it back in. But the closest he ever got was he had the operating budget balanced, which meant that the amount of money they were spending versus the amount being spent in total, debt servicing payments on top of that. He wasn't spending more on programs than they were actually taking in. It was just the debt servicing was still in deficit. So when the Liberals came in, their choices were basically we face economic meltdown because we're still spending way more money than we have, or we got to make cuts. And we're approaching over the longer term that kind of situation again because the Liberals have no plan to balance the budget.
No, they don't.
It's just this long term spending, and they're kind of hoping that somehow the economy is going to pick up and soften the blow. But the problem is under Trudeau, the Liberals basically had all this anti-government, well, not anti-government, anti-business legislation, because right now, I mean, Canada's biggest resources are oil and gas, forestry, agriculture. Those are the strengths of our economy. It's
Yep.
the very base of the economy.
Yes.
And they've kind of had these industries in a stranglehold for going on 10 years. And the only way we can really generate new money is to basically ease up on all the environmental regulations, ease up on all the regulations preventing people from building pipelines or starting new mines or starting new oil and gas projects. We really should want those people just to go hog wild, because rather than having to cut all these programs and fire all these bureaucrats, if we have more money to spend, there's less we have to cut, because that's ultimately what this is going to come to. So when people are saying, oh, you guys want to cut this and that, and it's so mean, and aren't you going to help people? Well, the problem is if we don't do it, what happens is it all goes tits up. And then
We won't have a country anymore.
well, what happens is all the programs get cut in a way
Right.
more severe fashion.
Exactly.
Than would happen is if you gradually kind of scale it back to a sustainable manner.
Right.
It's like it's like if you keep spending more money than you having as a person
Yep.
from month to month. You know, it's just, you can do it for a little while, but eventually you hit the wall.
Yeah.
And it may take longer for a country to hit the wall, but we're all heading, as a country, we're heading in that direction.
We are.
So it's always my hope that we get a conservative government in there and we try and prevent this from getting to the worst case scenario and kind of guide things back to some kind of natural
Normalcy.
equilibrium where, you know, we're getting our budget closer to balanced, we're generating more money, there's more jobs, we have a
People can just
sustainable amount of
afford to
people.
live.
Yeah, and people can afford houses and their lives.
It's actually
again.
sick what we're doing to people right now. It's sick.
We're coming at people from so many different directions.
Right.
It's
It's
troubling.
overwhelming for them.
I mean, immigration is suppressing the job market, especially for young people.
It's causing a lot of wait times, significant wait times
it's
in
putting a
emergencies.
strain on our social services.
Right.
And at the same time, we have just massive inflation from the government spending. So we have job market competition, reduced government services, and inflation, all kind of. And also, we just have a restraint in the ability of the economy to grow properly and generate more jobs due to liberal laws. So we have all these kind of unfortunate policy choices
Right.
just sitting on Canada and weighing it down. It's almost like we're a giant that's been chained up.
That's what it feels like.
You know, we have, there's nothing for the country to do. But
There's
to take
so
off-
much potential.
But to take off these shackles
Right.
that the Liberals have put on us and get back to some kind of logical and reasonable form of governance.
I don't know what it's going to take for people to wake up and vote conservative. I don't know if they have to lose their home or what it is, but I do feel like the NDP needs to actually work on its party platform, because they need to work on getting more voters out to support them so that they can vote split. I mean,
Well, I mean, they threw the last election for all intents and purposes.
yeah, they
Jagmeet
really
threw it.
fucked it.
I mean, he basically ran a non-campaign, and he basically dragged out the election to the point where it'd be beneficial to the Liberals, rather than going forward and trying to do what would actually be good for the NDP.
Yeah.
And you can't do that as a political
No.
party. I mean, I don't support the NDP, but at the same time, the NDP should be acting in the interests of the NDP, as opposed to doing what's best for the Liberals. It doesn't make any sense for them to do what's best for the
Right,
Liberals.
they're like little lapdogs. I'm like, do something.
Under Jagmeet, they were. I mean, I think
Yeah.
now they're kind of learning the harsh lesson that you have to do what's good for you
Right.
and try and come at these guys.
Mhm.
So I don't think that'll happen again, at least not deliberately. I mean, don't get me wrong, the NDP can still screw up horribly, and that wouldn't surprise me.
No.
But at the same time, it's entirely the case that I don't think they're going to be in a situation where they're basically going to throw the election again to the benefit of the Liberals. Because,
There's really nothing to throw.
well, there's not a lot of them anymore, but, you know, I get the impression they would like there to be more
How many
of them.
seats do they have right now?
There's like 6 or 7.
Something pathetic.
Yeah, it's in the low single. Well, I guess that's not low single digits, but mid single digits.
Single digits nonetheless. It's a very, very pathetic number.
Well, you know, it's not so much a caucus meeting as it is a group of friends gathering at this point. But you know, they can meet at a pub in Ottawa when they want to have their meetings. So, you know, I guess there is that. I mean, they're not down to 2, so that's not that bad. I mean, I think there are some seats they'll bounce back in the next election.
Hopefully.
But we did kind of skip ahead from when we were talking about the floor crossing in Friedland to what's happening in Minneapolis. But I think the good news about those rejected floor crossings and Friedland leaving is it seems like we're going to have the fake Liberal majority where they were trying to floor cross their way to sufficient votes to avoid an election. It's not going to happen because you have Friedland leaving and you have a Liberal MP, Nate Erskine-Smith, who's going to resign, and he's going to run to be Liberal leader of Ontario. And there's supposed to be a couple of other older Liberal MPs who are going to resign. And these might be safe seats, but you have to have them resign. They have to run a by-election. You have to have the by-election. The by-elections go on for at least 30 days. And so you're not really going to be able to have a majority when you have like people starting to cycle their way out. So the fact that they can't find their extra vote or two, and the fact that they're starting to have people leave, is probably going to push us towards an election sometime this year. And I think that's a good thing.
Any election, I don't care how soon it is, just please save us from this monstrosity of a government.
Well,
I know it costs so much money, and we're still waiting for some money from Elections Canada still, right?
Well, I mean, various EDAs probably are, yeah.
But
because that takes time to go through all the paperwork and everything like that.
But I don't care. I just want an election so bad. And I'm hoping people will actually wake up and smell the coffee, because this is not sustainable. This is not right. If you care about humanity, you'll do everything you can to stop this, because people can't afford to live. They can't pay their rent. They can't pay for groceries. I mean, 1 in 4 Canadians is considered to be food insecure. So they have to skip meals, you know, so that their kids can eat. That's wrong. We're a first world country. We shouldn't have these numbers. We shouldn't have food banks that have reached capacity, that they're being overwhelmed and they're running out of resources. This is unacceptable.
Well, of course it is. I mean, Canada's not in a good position right now. I mean, we're seeing that the rest of the world, and particularly the United States, is looking to make moves to be less reliant on us
Right.
because we're deemed to be unreliable. I mean,
We are unreliable, and we're making connections with the most corrupt countries of all. I don't know why we have such a close partnership with China when we should be working on our relations with the US. And it just drives me bonkers when people say, "Oh, I hate the Americans, whatever. What have they ever done for us?" Literally everything. They're our big brother. If we ever get in trouble, we need them. If we don't have them, we have nothing.
well, I mean, they're our neighbor and they're our closest ally
And the most
biggest trading
powerful
partner.
country in the world.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the idea that we can somehow do without them, I mean,
Dumbest move.
yeah, it's not really smart. I mean,
No.
for better or worse, proximity in our relationship economically means we need to really keep on good terms with them.
Right.
So the idea that we can just blow them off and create our own arrangements elsewhere is kind of dreaming in Technicolor. It's just not really feasible.
I keep seeing these posts all over social media. People are saying, "Trump, can you also free us from Carney? Like, please save us."
Well, the reality is
Forget Greenland, come here.
Carney spent like 30 days talking about elbows up, and then what
Yeah,
happened?
only to do elbows down,
Yeah.
ass up,
Well-
face down, ass up. That's what it's giving.
Yeah, I mean, he dropped all of his tariffs immediately, promised he was going to get a deal, hasn't got a deal. And indeed, all Carney's really done is he passed one bill, hasn't really done anything with it. He
Absolute fuck
just basically created a new government department that is going to apparently help see projects they'd already approved be extra approved. And since that time, all he's done is he's flew around talking to people in Europe and the Middle East and China.
Did you just say more bureaucrats for other bureaucrats?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's like inception of
Yeah,
bureaucrats.
I know. They have these projects that were already approved. So now we need more bureaucrats to ensure that the
other bureaucrats
the
are
already approved projects are even more approved than they were before.
We need to like insert a picture of that meme of that woman with like all of those like trigonometry and like
Yeah, I don't know.
physics formulations like whizzing past her.
It's almost the Chad Kruger photograph.
Oh yeah. Look at
There's
this photograph.
Yeah, look at this
inside of the
photograph.
photograph.
Like, this is how our approvals now go. We have an approval. The guy has the approval, but now we have a guy with an approval inside a photograph. Of a guy
Inception
with
approval.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous.
Holy shit. I mean,
But-
it feels, this is such a joke. It feels like a joke.
Our country is kind of operating in this weird Kafka-esque bureaucratic nightmare of a joke where we don't get anything done. And we obviously have to change that if we're ever going to get anywhere as a country. And, you know, the reality is we can't bog everything down in bureaucracy and court challenges
No.
and consultations and everything else like that.
There's
We
way too
actually-
much red tape with everything, man.
Oh,
It's too
absolutely.
much. We already have enough regulations. We don't need to be inventing more new ones.
Hey, you know, and the only thing we probably need some regulations that are new about is AI, because, you know, as much as it creates like funny
And
videos
immigration.
and funny music right now, I mean, I don't trust that stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, it's not our immediate threat. Our immediate threat is kind of this suicidal economic policy that we've been engaged in for going on a decade as a country.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're basically a plane that's going to crash and we need to pull out of the tailspin
Yeah.
because that's more or less the direction the Liberals have put us in for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as they pretend they're a new government now, they're the same old government that's been there forever.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of doom and gloom. Sorry about that, guys, but
But
we
hey,
have to expose the truth. That's
End
it.
of the month, Conservative AGM.
That's
Pierre
right.
should be voted in overwhelmingly, despite
Absolutely.
what the CBC would like for you to believe. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think help is on the way as far
Mhm.
as what I think an election in the next year will do.
And we're going to be going to the AGM, of course, because
Oh, yeah.
we love to debate.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
it's the thing to do, right?
Right, absolutely.
If you're
So-
paying to be there, you might as well get your money's worth.
Exactly. Well, It was nice having you guys. That wraps up this episode. Thanks for listening, and make sure to subscribe, like, and share the podcast. See you guys.